global city. Regardless who runs here for mayor, this is my city. This is England.
Give them one. Give them one.
This royal throne of kings. This sceptred isle. Regardless who wears the crown, this is my country. Oh people, this is the United Kingdom. A green and pleasant land. Let us be united and stand together. I am not here to debate or argue. I am here to ask one simple question. Are you friend or are you foe? Are you ally or are you enemy? Do you stand with me or against me? To my fellow Englishmen and women, I say help me and say, I swear by Almighty God that as a citizen of the United Kingdom, I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to His Majesty, King Charles III, his heirs and successors, according to law. I will give my loyalty to the United Kingdom and respect its rights and freedoms. To my fellow Muslims, I say help me and say, La ilaha illallah, Muhammadan Rasulullah. And to my friends, I say help each other. Help each other and stand in the spirit of alliance and goodwill. Acknowledge English Muslim identity and embrace it.
Sorry, can I ask a question because time is short, it's almost iftar time. What do you as an you're an Englishman, right?
I'm an Englishman.
Okay, so what do you think as an English man, because for me, from my point of view, yeah, the Englishman is being squeezed emotionally, physically, financially, and all of his rights are being taken away. So his identity is at risk, his language is at risk, his family is at risk. His relationship with his own wife because of promiscuity, high sexuality, sexual revolution, they're all at risk. His children, the ones that he's the one to provide over, look after, are now being taken by the government. They're the ones that decide which ideology the children follows. What do you as an Englishman, because me looking in sees an Englishman is literally in almost complete isolation. There are no social spheres for them to be even to speak what they believe in. And in Islam we have maqasid al-Sharia, which is like the objectives of the law. And it talks about the identity of a person. A person should be able to have his identity, be able to have his nasab and his family and have his rights and be in a good unit of family. But we see all of this being deteriorated, and I feel there's a deep set of anxiety from the white British man that many times that he cannot even speak. How do you as a white British man feel?
I feel that it's very comforting and reassuring to have someone else offer that perspective to reflect that back to me from outside of that English demographic. Identity is very important. English identity in England is relevant. It is relevant. It's become toxic. and it's become toxic because all the social pressures of modern life, modernity, postmodernism, post-truism, it goes way beyond the government. The government is just a shadow of real power and influence. That's a deeper matter. But all these things have worked to undermine the sense of identity and social coherence.
When you say social coherence, as in, do you think that there's a lot of agitation within our societies? A lot of it is because you can't speak your mind and there are no spaces that you can speak your mind.
Yes.
As in me as a Muslim, I believe that everyone has to have identity.
Right.
Including you, including everyone else. And I understand that you're put in a position which is very, very difficult, that you can't even articulate your position, even if it comes from a place of good, because otherwise you'll be called a bigot.
Yes, that is.
And it's like a deep, harrowing loneliness, a deep, harrowing isolation.
And this will rise.
And it rises.
Look around, I can see many people who I sense are looking for something to identify with. And because it is a struggle, people are atomised and broken down.
We're fighting each other financially. We're struggling to live. We're struggling to live. We no longer see the beauty of love.
Right.
We in fact, if you talk about love, you're more likely to be laughed at. But if you talk about sex, people are more likely to take you seriously.
This is the sad reality of
We've almost lost all of our moralities, everything that grounds us as men.
Right.
Yeah, it seems to be pushed away.
Right.
And I feel like as in that as men, it's like we're made to, particularly you, because I believe like this is originally a white country.
Me as a white
A white Englishman. Right. And for your sons, I feel it even more.
Right.
You know, as a Muslim, don't get me wrong, as in there's a history of colonialism. Yes. This didn't happen out of nowhere.
No.
But mass immigration, when you have multiple wars in the Middle East, then naturally you're going to have a large influx of people. We have to ask ourselves, why are there like wars in the Middle East? What's causing these wars in the Middle East? Then what's causing all of these high rates of immigration into these countries, which are breaking society?
Absolutely. This is the bigger picture. This is the bigger picture, the wars and the causes of these influxes of migration and immigration. That needs to be expanded and looked at. But again, this is something that is most issues today, because of the spectacle of the media, just boiled down into very crystallized ideas about them, which really don't work. They just don't function in a sensible way.
I've sat with a lot of...
But I'd just like to come back to what you mentioned about, as a Muslim speaking, that's very, for me...
refreshing.
It's not about being white, but it is about being English.
Yeah.
Right? That's very, very reassuring to hear that said.
In all other countries, in Saudi you're Saudi, in Egypt you're Egyptian, and so something which is understood.
Yeah.
But there's no falsity, because obviously there's a colonial past and it came from the Greeks and the Romans.
Yes.
There was one contiguous land, but the empire we have now, or the British Empire that we had, was not contiguous, and it used to tell the people that they colonized that they were British, and this was the problem. Like you have so many Indian guys here in this park that have a strong accent, they're Christian, and they will think that they're the same as another person who is British like yourself or white English. But the reality is that they're bicultural.
Right.
Yeah, and they have to acknowledge that, right? And in Islam, obviously, it preserves your identity. And I think a lot of agitation the root cause is this lack of communication, lack of being able to articulate on your half at least, and a lack of understanding on my half, or my people's half, and I think a lot of the woes could be understood, because we're men at the end of the day. Your worries are my worries. We have families, we have children, we have wives, we have money.
Absolutely. This is the common ground and the common interest that we share as English people and Muslim people in this country. And I'm talking about this country. We're not in isolation from the rest of the world. We're all affected. We can see today the bombings on the other side of the world. We're going to be affected. We are deeply ingrained in it. But nevertheless, I'm particularly interested in the United Kingdom.
Yes, of course.
And if people putting up the flags in their search and their yearning for identity and social identity, not just personal but social identity.
No social sphere, they got no friends.
It's become toxic.
Yeah.
Because of the lack of space to express and communicate and share more
ideas,
more sensitively.
And there's nothing wrong, in my personal opinion, of putting up flags.
I would say I'm not just going to dig those guys out, okay? Because I personally, I mean, in my experience, it might not, which is not everybody's experience clearly, right? But I do get a lot of pushback from brown British Muslims.
Yeah.
Really.
Let me say,
kicking back against Englishness, English identity, and also as an English Muslim, his brother. What you're an English? What English? You're Muslim now. Forget you're English. And I'm thinking, you don't understand what you're talking about, and I accept what you're saying. That is more to my understanding of Islam and identity.
Yeah.
That Islam. Yes, we're all a brotherhood.
Yes.
Right. One family. There's no denying that. But at the same time, Allah Almighty created us as tribes and nations so that we may know each other. This is essential, and it's not about nationalism. Nationalism is another perversion, if you like, and another extreme of the situation. But to be able to identify, for me to talk to you comfortably, freely, in my own skin.
And it's a shame that
where I'm coming from, I'm in such a better place to be able to communicate with you and to grow.
And you know what's funny? Most English people, whenever I sit with them, you have to talk about the goods of the people as well as the bad. You can't just focus on the bad. But they're extremely funny. You know, that the comedic kind of culture that they have, And you can sit with them and have a laugh, and they're very welcoming. You know, of course, there's things they've lost because we're all living in a cost of living crisis and everything. But they're very, very hospitable. And I think many people don't point this up.
I'm glad
but I feel like many men are walking shells of who they don't have identity. And I believe, like, in the wave of secularism,
their identity has become toxic.
It's become toxic.
And the irony is, it's the likes of Tommy Robertson and his ilk that are making it toxic.
But I feel sorry for them as well. I feel sorry because they're losing their identity in the same way as you, but they don't know how to articulate or express themselves. They think that this is the bogeyman, when the bogeyman is that they're extremely vacuous. Inside is empty. They're yearning for identity, yearning for religion, yearning for a family unit, a wife who is theirs, and meaning and purpose. And they drown their sorrows in alcohol because they have no other avenues. And I feel sorry for them because many of them are good, nice people.
Under a veneer of brutish,
of course,
antagonistic,
of course,
you know, hooligan thuggery.
But when your identity is being ripped away from you by secularism,
rip that away. And I'm sure that many of such people are, as you described, hospitable, humorous.
Yes.
Not entirely stupid.
But obviously at the head of the movements there's some other agendas going on, but the most of people are genuine people that seek love.
What I would say, I'd like to take the opportunity is to reach out to the Muslim community, to share the outlook that you have towards the English, the white, non-English community, and feel that is their raison d'etre. their reason for being here, their purpose, that to communicate with them in a
understanding
at a social level
way.
is part of the way. It's part of the way of Islam. I'm good.
Yeah.
No.
It looks like one.
So you look at.
That's the way you look at it.
Nah, that's the way. That's the way it is.
No,
So you look at the British Empire. Obviously, it's gone around the whole world. People are going to be kind of suspicious,
Yes, no,
and at
I
the same
understand.
time,
I
at
understand
the same
that.
time, the British man at the same time is going to be suspicious because he's
But
not
if
thinking.
But if you're here,
For most
if
people,
if you've travelled across,
then
that
you're
world
willingly.
to come here.
Yeah, you're
What
willingly.
have you?
Yeah,
You buy into it.
you
I mean,
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not saying you buy
So
into
most
like,
people.
the negatives. Let's get real.
So most
But
people didn't
nevertheless,
actually
it's the
profit.
society.
So most people actually didn't profit from colonization or this, except for a small minority of people.
Sure.
Most British people didn't have a pot to piss in,
Yeah.
nor a window to throw it out of. You know, the people who are actually the benefactors are all of us.
The elite.
So yeah, the elite at the most immediately. They're the ones who are the benefactors immediately. But later on, most people are working class. The middle class are being squeezed out. But then there are a small amount of people who are paid agitators to sow enmity between the more normal people, to distract, in order to distract the real problems that they have, yeah, and say this Muslim or this Hindu or this Christian is the problem.
Yes.
But the reality is that their whole livelihood has been ripped away from them. They can't even afford housing. They can't even get a loan or debt because the banks control inflation.
This is the bigger picture. This is the broader understanding.
And people are pissed.
But people have a short span of attention.
Yeah.
You know, in this media age, to give time to such consideration. They want easy answers. They want to polarise. It's black and white answers. And this is part of the problem.
And I believe that Islam,
Yeah.
it gives that totality for a man to be a man, that he has his identity, he has his language, he can be adhesive with his neighbor because the neighbor has rights over you, as I was saying.
Right.
As in your neighbor, the Muslim is not the one whose neighbor is afraid of him.
Right.
So the Prophet Muhammad say this, so the jar or the jiran or the neighbor has rights upon you, especially if you are a guest.
I have
You know?
a neighbour, a Muslim neighbour, family, we live in a block, right? And he's got his own world and his own experience and his own pressures and the attitudes of people around him maybe. But the last thing he would do is give you a smile.
Yeah,
I mean, it took a long time before he realised that I was Muslim.
that's
right?
crazy. That's crazy.
Stone face.
Not
Oh, neighbour.
my plea.
Not even the skies of nods.
And
Recognition of your existence.
And all it takes, a Muslim doesn't have to be compassionate.
And I'm not saying that's how Muslims are.
Yeah.
But where people are like that, it's not helpful.
Allah says in the Quran, وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ, we have not sent you, O Muhammad, except as a rahmah to who? لِلْعَالَمِينَ, to the whole of mankind.
Yes.
And Allah says in the Quran, had you not spoken to them softly, then they would not have come towards you. And this is where the Prophet Muhammad he himself was merciful, not just to his neighbor, to Bilal al-Habashi, Suhaib al-Rumi, Suhaib the Roman, Salman the Persian, and Umar al-Qurayshi. He united the hearts of the people, even though they had their differences, and they acted towards each other as brothers.
This is the strength and power.
وَمَا جَعَلْنَا, we have not made you, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, indeed we have made you into nations and tribes in order that you may know each other. And I say, it goes on to say that the best of you, the most pious of you, are the ones who worship Allah. Anyway, let's close it. It's almost iftar time. It was a pleasure meeting you, yeah? Take care of yourself. Yeah, it was, how you... Oh, I'm not going to steal it.